But yeah, like I was saying, I'm going to start over with a new item this time. It's going to be way more cool. Oh, hey! Welcome to the video. I didn't see you there. I'm just talking with my friend about the premise of this video. I've been stewing on this idea for a long time now, but I wanted to complete the game and then start over. And by that, I mean I prestige the game. I spend my time building a cool base and forging the coolest, strongest armor and weapons, and then I start over. And this time, when I start over, I have way less limitations on myself, and I give myself a cool new item to use to just help with the early game and make the playthrough a bit more characteristic. So hopefully you enjoy, and stay in tuned. See ya! Now I bet you're wondering, what does that say up in the top left corner of the screen? Well, that says Node Script, because during the time of this project, I was also working on another project for my D&D campaign that I ended recently. The video I was working on was a script in the perspective of my big bad villain's story. But don't worry, it gets taken down pretty soon. This right here was a short clip of me just sort of scrolling through my stats so that you can see I have barely any time on the world, and I just wanted to show that because I took the node script off the screen and wanted to show that the world is still new, even though I clipped out the start of the world. Now, the avid watcher would notice that I am in hardcore mode, which means no respawning. I know it's a little blurry. My recording settings are not all that great, and I'm still learning even after all these years of doing YouTube. But I was about to get a rude awakening as to the difficulty mode that I had put myself in. Luckily, I was able to escape with the help of this dolphin, and that the message in the chat, I assume that means I swam near a shark of some kind, but that never came to fruition either, and eventually I would go and hide underground for the night. After getting myself a little bit of a hideout underground, I looked up antibiotics. This is a very important recipe for this playthrough because I had a mod installed called Infectious. This antibiotic would be life-saving in danger because there are many different types of zombies added in this mod. I had made myself some copper armor, and I saw in the chat that there was a loot drop landing, but it was nighttime, so I wanted to wait. So I took a little peek around, and there you see it, one of the custom zombies. I believe that's the astronaut zombie. We'll see that here in a bit. These loot drops ended up being lucrative in the beginning, but not so much towards the end, so hopefully I'll be able to show you what some of them contain. The day was breaking, and I really wanted to go explore this structure. Little did I know that it was filled with even more danger. I had decided that that was enough trying to take over structures that I was not powerful enough to take over. And so I built a little boat for myself out of this palm wood and just sort of started to explore and eventually would find something that would work for me. Well, wouldn't you know it, by the time I find the X on the map, it's right next to this other sunken ship, right on the beach. So I decide that I'm going to make this my house. However, as you can see, it's a real piece of work. It's got a lot of fixing upping to do, so I do that for the next while. Eventually I started to try some of my accessories and trinkets that I was getting. I had such a wonderful idea. Put this creeper sense that makes you explode with this explosion-proof jacket. Why not? Such a great idea! After those harrowing self-inflicted explosions, I got to enjoy one of my favorite activities to do in a new mod pack, which is the first few nights. I just sit in the little spot that I've made for myself, and I just go through all of the mods that I have and look up different recipes and make different plans about, you know, this, that, and the other, and which way that the run can go, and this is what I was doing on this night. As much as I enjoy theory crafting about the future, I also need to get started on some things, so I started digging a mine and sort of trying to work that into my ship build in some way, but I also went out and started collecting some clay for some pots. Oh yeah, the botany pot. A coveted device that'll help us grow plenty of crops throughout the entire series. I would later use this to, well, just about grow everything. But first we would start with sugarcane, as I wanted to make a flying ship. And this is how I plan to make it. I need these things called white balloons, or just balloons rather, and they're gonna just sort of attach to the ship, and it'll float it into the air. I need a helm as well. I don't know if I've made that yet, but I need to get on this sugarcane. I grew a little bit of wood, and then now it's going to be sugarcane all the way for quite some time until I have enough balloons to actually get this thing in the air. I've already done some work to clear out some of the blocks that the ship was, you know, sunken into. So now all it is a waiting game. And there it is. We have liftoff. It's really slow liftoff, but we're in the air. We're getting there. This thing might be half a ship. It might be moving what, a quarter as fast as a ship would be moving, but it's in the air. We're taking it across the seas, over continents. All the while, we're setting it on cruise control and we're still building it out. We've got sugarcane growing, we're making balloons, we've got it made. And what do I spy off in the distance? But a pirate ship to just immediately start looting? What, it's just, you know, there's just a couple of skeletons, but that's nothing for me. That's nothing. We've built a flying ship. We started with nothing. We built a flying ship. I'm gonna crit these guys out. I'm gonna crit these guys out. I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna kill them and take everything. I'm gonna take everything this ship has. Oh my gosh, it's got so much, you guys. I'm gonna jump down. I'm gonna go all the way underneath. This is some expert stuff. I'm gonna go underneath. I'll mine the bottom. But tactically, I see that this was not the smartest decision. There's a spawner underneath that ship. So I need to go find another hole. And then these guys show up out of nowhere, riding dolphins. What are they trying to flex on me? So I'm gonna go retreat. But, I mean, there's not that many of them. And they can't be that cool. I mean, they're just riding dolphins. Like, I can't let them swag on me like that. So I'm gonna go down here, I'm gonna try and fight them. And because I'm so much better and so much cooler, then they'll have no choice but to give up and... Yeah, I died. It's the first time, but it won't be the last. But I can always start again. Don't worry, it's just what this playthrough's about. You die, you come back, you try harder. Maybe we'll get it next time. Well, off of that, immediately wanting to start on the next run, I name it number 2. I set it for large biomes, because that's what I prefer to play with. And here I am. I'm introduced with this cotton candy forest, and I saw a structure to the side. What are these trees? Who cares? They make this cool crafting table. Who cares? I go into the structure, and there's a bunch of villagers, and I'm thinking about setting up some sort of village. Who cares? I go to the basement, thinking that I can get some cool loot. I see that there are a couple of barrels. They have some stuff in them. Who cares? I set up some storage spot for keeping my villagers in, because you can see they're in my inventory. I don't use that mod very much in this playthrough. Who cares? I see the roofs of those rooms from the basement, and I think, you know, I'm gonna go and get some easy loot that way, and I see some immediate danger with the TNT, so I break it, and then I break some of the deep slate, and I'm just killing these villagers, and at the moment, I'm not really thinking anything of it. But these things are vicious, and they cheat. Like, there's no way it should have been able to hit me, but it does. And so, second verse, same as the first, or I guess in this case, third verse, same as the second. Make a new world, call it number 3, and set it for large biomes. And I'm gonna try and make it further this time. Right about here, I was starting to get the bright idea to make an impromptu mob farm, because as you can hear, there are a lot of mobs spawning in this little dungeon. I found these punji sticks, bamboo spike sticks, and I was gonna see what I could do with them. And while we let some monsters die in the mob farm, I had finally gone and made the effort to grab the materials to make a Philosopher's Stone. This is a specific item from Project E, which is a mod that has been around for just so long. It allows you to do some on-hand, impromptu alchemy. So as you can see here, I'm taking the Philosopher's Stone and turning some gold into iron. They both have the same EMC value. 1 piece of gold equals 8 iron, and to that effect, I'm making some hoppers and making some more of those botany pots. At this point, I was working on an actual mob spawner. There was one right next to my setup, and I didn't know it until I turned the corner. I set up some torches, started mining out for a dark room, and then I would put some water down and start farming. And so, it was finally time. Crafting my first elevators, and as you can see in my inventory, I have more of those balloons that let us create an airship and fly off into the distance. I'll show you the entirety of this staircase, and you'll be able to understand why I wanted these elevators. My plan at the moment is to take the entire top of the tower and just fly away. Load up all of the stuff that I have down in that corridor up into this structure here, put a bunch of balloons, and then just take the whole thing. Bit of a jump scare, right? Yeah, well, the entire time that I was digging out that wall, I had that Blitz, I believe that's what it's called, a Blitz from the Thermal series. He was attacking me the entire time, so it took a little longer than I thought. Here I am, I've made a bow, and of course, now that I've made a ranged weapon, the guy is completely missing. I don't know where he went. He just cowered away as soon as I started building a bow of any kind. At this point, I had spent a solid hour or two farming my different pots and the mob farm, all to try and make this airship work. As you can see, I just sort of chopped off the top of the tower, and then put some balloons underneath, and I didn't have enough balloons, obviously. This is kind of where I learned that different blocks had different weights, and obviously bricks and stone are much heavier than the wood of a ship. So you can see me just sort of dragging it off of the sand, trying to make it to water to see what I could do about this. Finally, the airboat tower thing was in the water. And as you can see, it is floating. Just a lot of it's underwater. Those little balloons are having to carry a lot. So eventually I would go back down and collect my gear and put it in the tower so that I can further expand on the balloons and hopefully get it actually in the air. And now you can see in real time, I put down like what, 10, 12 balloons, and this room that was completely submerged is now, I can almost breathe in it. So, making good progress, just, you know, slow. At this point, the tower was so close to flying that I just decided that I was going to let my botany pots grow the sugarcane while I go and adventure in this village. After ransacking the village for just a little while, I was able to come back with some stone bricks that I had found in the village to make a little bridge up to the ship. And the sugarcane had grown. There was not enough to finish it in the moment, but as you can see, at nighttime, when I had finally grown some more and looted some more chests, I got up to my ship and I tested it out. And what do you know it? Finally, we have liftoff for the second time in this series of runs. Pretty soon after, I found this spot in between two villages where I could park my ship somewhere in or on this river and just go looting both of these different villages. Before I go into the village, however, I decided that I wanted to upgrade my armor, or at least craft some at all. So I'm turning some of these emeralds into diamonds and then upgrading them with this different mod that allows me to make special versions of both iron, diamond, and netherite armor. Aha! And there we are. Finally another loot drop landed, and actually pretty close by. This is from the Infectious mod, which is the same mod that I talked about earlier, where I need to make antibiotics in order to avoid the effects of many of the zombies in this game. I find out that you can't break it with a sword, but instead have to mine it with an axe. And there you see it, those little blue bottles are the antibiotics that I need, so those are very precious. I will need to find a way to make them, reproduce them, and keep them on me almost at all times. And I kid you not, almost like the most perfect timing ever, a zombie dog runs up and bites me, and as you can see, I have now become infected. I run to my ship to try and gain some kind of cover from the rest of the zombies of the night and sleep the night away, but I don't think I actually grabbed the antibiotics. I threw them in a chest. So now I have to go back out and go get them. Hello again. This is where I don't really want to drag out this attempt, this scene for too long, because I went around going through villages and looting, and eventually went as far as to make the Eyes of Ender and go to the end. I beat the Ender Dragon, even though it was a terribly annoying fight, but in a hope to go on to the next scene, this is unfortunately what happened to me. After defeating the Ender Dragon, I was kind of feeling unstoppable, but also more adventurous. I wanted to explore some villages and see some new sights before I really found a place to dock and set up a permanent base. So for now, I decided on this village and the desert right next to it, or the beach rather, and that right there is my fatal flaw. I implemented an elevator so that I could instantaneously go from the inside of my ship to the beach itself. And as you can see right here, as soon as I activate the ship, it breaks entirely. Look at that! I can see from so far away. That is not at all how this thing is intended to work. And so I try a couple different things. My first thought is disassemble it, trying to align it, and that's not working. As you can see, it takes multiple seconds and nothing is happening at all whatsoever. And in this moment, it's just running through my head of like, what is this thing stuck on? I just landed on a beach. Well, my next thought is I need to restart my world, and so I do. That takes a few minutes, and then eventually I'm back on my ship, and I can see if it worked. But as you'll see, it did not. Yep, I can still see super far away, and I know you can't tell, but I'm actively trying to gain liftoff in the moment. I end up going underneath and mining out a bunch of this area to try and get it to lift off, and it just won't. So in this clip, you can see I'm heading towards this other ship I found across the river because I was giving up on my tower and just wanted a new base, and I thought that this ship would do nicely. But that did not go my way, as I get one shot in upgraded diamond armor by a cannon, and that is how Run 3 ended. Man, what a montage, and what a great start to this next attempt number 4. I explored some pretty good stuff. I found a really cool sword that I'll go into a bit more depth later, but I thought I'll put a waystone down, I'll put my bed down, and I'll log off for the night and join the next day. The next time I logged in, I wanted to test what this greatsword could do, and this, my friends, is Ribbon Cleaver. It is a greatsword with a lunge feature and a defensive mechanic right after you lunge. Right there, you can hear that it prevents 1 instance of damage. This is a greatsword added by the Simply Swords mod, and it would be the weapon of choice for the entire playthrough. Having a cool new weapon and resorting my inventory to have a few more tools, I was feeling confident, and I wanted to explore this dungeon and see what I could get from it. I was down here for a little while and then started to encounter some of the infectious zombie variants, as you can see, and that should have been my sign that I probably should have invested in some better armor, because after a while, the zombies became more ferocious. And I found these, the spitter zombies. They spit on you, they give you poison, nausea, but most importantly, they infect you. So at this point, I'm infected, and I really need to make strides towards curing myself. In the rush to try and find a cure, I'm sorting all of my ingredients into the bottom corner of this chest. I only need a few left, however I make the mistake of not being technically in command of the ship and instead just riding on top of it, and I just walk straight off and fall. But luckily I find it right here in this tree after it crashed. Luckily enough for me, the infectious mod is highly forgiving when it comes to the infected status effect. So I realized if I had fallen out of that airship and not hit water, I would have died. And I really want to keep this playthrough going because I have a really cool sword and I've got a lot of potential ahead of me. So I calmed myself down, built a nether portal, and went to the nether. I got this terrible spawn where I needed to carve through a wall in order to get to any semblance of the outer nether. But eventually I would find some nether wart, which was the next ingredient I needed for antibiotics. Putting all of my current ingredients together again, I realized that the last thing I needed was the glistering melon. I opened my map to look for any signs of a jungle, but I hadn't done much exploring of my world at this point. So I started having to theory craft on how I would procure any melon seeds or melons. But as I was flying by, I found these pumpkins down below and decided I would perform some magic to turn it into a melon. See, I can make a philosopher's stone, and using it, I can just right click on it and turn it into a melon. And then at that point, all I need is to make gold into gold nuggets and then make the glistering melon. And there it is, finally the cure, and finally time to be more careful. With a new lease on life, I wanted to make a tool that I would use for the rest of the playthrough. This is a talisman that puts even mending to shame. I looted a dungeon, just the higher floors of it, and now I needed to make a repair talisman. This is added by Project E and has been around for so long. All it does is passively, over time, it just repairs your tools and your armor. Anything in your inventory that has a durability, it will repair. I flew for some time and I found this house down there with a fence around it. I was still very cautious. It had an iron golem and a villager, but I had just saved myself from dying, so I didn't want to quite interact with them yet. Get a good look around though. because this area is actually where we ended up staying for the remainder of the playthrough. Anyways, I hop on their roof, I see they've got a gun turret mounted up there, I break into their roof and steal all their goods. Downstairs I find that this is a peaceful little house. These villagers are added by the infectious mod, so this is actually pretty on the nose for the adventure that I'm having so far. At this point I decided that these guys would be my roommates. If I was going to survive the zombie apocalypse, then these guys were the best equipped to do so. I parked my airship right here, and I would live out of this little shed out the back of their house. They have a third bed, so I figured I was pretty welcome. Remember what I said about being more careful? Well, this is me coming back from an adventure where I got infected. Again. Every time you craft antibiotics, you get 3. So I used 1 when I got infected the first time, and I got infected the second time, so I only have 1 left. So I decided that I need to replicate them somehow. And I chose to do this with the energy condenser, presented by Project E. Again, most items in this game have an EMC value, and antibiotics are no different. You put antibiotics into the energy condenser, and then something of worth, and you get more out of it. Even though I had just found a place to settle, adventure was still on the mind. Going out and getting riches and treasures was the main goal, but having somewhere to put them was all I needed this for. So I upgraded my airship with this engine and perpetual fuel botany pot, and I went out exploring. I raided some villages, and then I found this house. I had some clever ideas for this place, but I needed to invest into some automation infrastructure before I could go through with them. So I put a waystone down, named it Acquisition, and I went to go prepare. The next few clips are just going to be me sort of putting together some of that infrastructure I was talking about. Making auto-crafters, putting together botany pots, just making a system that will automatically craft balloons. Yes, the balloons that I use to make my flying airship, I want to make hundreds, if not thousands of them, because I plan on going around to different structures in the world and taking them. I want to attach balloons and uplift the structure and take it away. Although right here is a clip of me going into the underground to get some supplies and then getting infected again. Unfortunate. Anyways, like I was saying, I want to steal structures. I have a bunch of different structure mods that allow different world gen options. And this is a general practice that I have been doing for a number of years. That is because I used to watch a YouTuber named Sundy. If you've been around, you might know of him. He did a series called FTB Unleashed a long time ago, and one of the main things that they did was they would just steal structures in the same way that I'm about to. So hopefully you found this little tutorial or walkthrough of my system entertaining, and now I can show you what it's all going to be for. Alright, here's how we do it. We show up to the structure and we start mining out the underneath of it because you have to separate it from the actual world in order for it to register as a structure for the purposes of stealing it. It's the same way we did the ship in the first run, but now on a bit of a grander scale with a larger building. And a bunch of balloons later, and we have liftoff. The house is now an assembled ship in technicality and can be lifted at our leisure. We will be taking it straight back to our designated area where we have that other house. This one will be our new and improved base of operations where we can actually have our stuff inside of a house and not in a shack behind it. Now, I was parking my actual little skipper ship, and I saw that there were some people trying to attack my roommates. So, I took my bow out, took my sword out, and attempted to stop this when I killed the leader, and it started a raid. So, here's the raid on our little house. I was trying to clear everything out, but as early as even just this clip right here, you can see the raid says defeated. As not that they were defeated, but because we were. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was because they took out the gun up above, the turret, if you've seen it. And they also, unfortunately, killed both of my roommates. I searched the entire house, and as you can see, it's entirely empty. Super sad. I would have loved to kept them around for the entire playthrough, but, you know, what can you do? Back working on the house, now that the thing is not a moving structure, but now a actual structure in the world. I wanted to make sure that it was planted on the dirt of the terrain, so I filled in the gaps with the dirt that I had collected from mining it out before. I'm finally starting to touch up some of the walls. The structure comes with these stairs, which are meant to make it look ruined and dilapidated. But obviously, if I'm fixing up this structure, then I have to fix that. Well folks, wouldn't you know it, but we are almost an hour into this video and we still have not even started on the final goal yet. That's right, this whole base, everything I've built so far, has been progress for sure, but it's been mostly just setting up the early game. There's a lot to come, mostly because of an item called the Infinity Catalyst from the mod Avaricia. There's a lot to make, including this armor to my left and the contents of this bag to my right. We want to make the Sword of the Cosmos, which takes a lot to make, and then there's also some other goodies along the way that we could possibly make, but probably are not. But this is the main part of the journey, which is making these crazy powerful things that cost just so much. So if you'll bear with me, we're gonna have to cut out a lot of the fluff from me just sort of adventuring around and gathering new things. You've seen me adventure enough, so hopefully you'll find the next part of this video entertaining as we go into setting up new bases, new machines, new structures, all in efforts to make these ultimate powerful weapons and armor. That being said, here's a few clips of me upgrading armor and going out to the Nether to get blaze rods so that I can swiftly go to the end, defeat the Ender Dragon, get new armor, new loot, new adventures, and eventually come back and start base building. I needed to start getting some more machines built, and machines obviously use a lot of metal. So what better mod to get metal with than Tinker's Construct? This is a mod where you get to create a smeltery and melt down all of your precious minerals into bars and ingots, and even get a little bit of more return back than with a regular furnace setup. Another thing on my list was getting nether stars, and obviously to get the nether star you need to kill the wither. I found it useful to use the Draconic Evolution cores to go down in one of these dungeons and collect a wither skeleton spawner, so that later I could set up a actual spawner at my base. To sort my spawner chest, I was going to need something that could filter items, and this is where I introduce my favorite sorting item transportation thing called the Item Translocator. It has a filter built right onto it. It's very simple. It doesn't go long distance. It can only go, one adjacent block over. But it has this filter, and as you can see, we've already got one wither skeleton skull ready to go. But eventually I would need to fight the thing, and right here I'm making an item called an interdiction torch. Another favorite item of mine, where you place the torch down and it forces out, it projects this force field where no projectiles and no hostile mobs can enter the area. So when I fight the wither, all of its skulls will bounce right off of it, and the wither can't really get to me. And I'm making these these arrows of instant healing because undead in Minecraft actually heal from damage arrows and take damage from healing arrows. It's, being undead and all. One of the reasons that I needed a nether star was because I wanted to make upgraded botany pots, because at some point I was going to need to get into mystical agriculture. This mod is where you can take pretty much any material you could ever need and grow it through crops. And luckily I have the botany pots, which allow me to grow anything in a pot that automatically harvests itself. So I thought ahead and finally set this little contraption up where it would all get collected into this vault, and for the next foreseeable future I would be stockpiling a lot of this Inferium essence. In order to keep tabs on how much essence I had in the vault, I was going to need some kind of system to open it and interact with it. My choice was Refined Storage because it had an external storage bus that you could attach to the vault and hook up a computer screen that would then allow you to see everything inside and craft with it. Now that I had some passive Inferium Essence going and I had my Tinkers set up ready, I wanted to get some kind of machine that could automatically gather me resources. And my first choice was the Quarry. This is a relatively new mod that I haven't really played with before, but it is a plain and simple quarry that just sort of uses direct solid fuel, has a couple of cool settings, and can just mine the ground for you. At some point in my adventures, I learned that if you combine the lunge of my sword and the elytra of my chest plate, you can get free flight, pretty much. I'll be using this for a long time. This is around the time where I was finally deciding that this would be my forever place to set up shop and to live. And I was looking around the map to see just how much logs I would have to clear out in order to make a wide open area to make a base. And I found that it was quite large, so I made this infinite food source called the Healing Axe. As long as it's in your main hand, it will continue to give you saturation. And obviously, the next few minutes are just me using Vein Mine to chop down a lot of trees. Usually Vein Mine takes a lot of hunger, but if the axe that I'm using is constantly giving me saturation, I can just Vein Mine trees forever. And that's what I did. Here you can see that I did a lot of clearing out. There was a bunch of trees that are just now gone, and I've made this barren strip of land where I can do some projects in. And one project right here is something I was stewing up while I was cutting down the entire forest. This is the mobile quarry operation where I make an airship, and I also stick the wither skeleton spawner up top. So that the coal from the wither skeletons is dropped down as solid fuel for the quarry to use. And I can just sort of boat this around through the sky, hovering over the quarries that I want to mine. And it was an ingenious design. I promise you it was ingenious. However, I don't end up using this terribly much because the quarry mod has a few small little bugs to it, but it was a cool ship that I wanted to use, so here's me sort of building it. Now that I have a few things built up and a lot of space cleared out, I wanted to show you just some raw footage of what a normal nighttime looks like with all of the different types of zombies that are spawning due to infectious. Alright, it was about time that I needed to start laying some infrastructure and groundwork for my first actual base. All of my chests are sort of scattered around, all my items just willy-nilly, and I needed a place to put them, so, I mean, I abducted a house, so why not put all of my stuff in there? The first step was obviously this lava. I needed to set up a Tinker's Construct setup somehow. And this infinite lava would allow me to do that. But then, in just a moment, you'll be able to see me moving all of my items from the house where my roommates passed and into this one. So, enjoy that. As my stuff was moving into a place that would be a little bit more permanent, I started to set up these machines so that I could use the resources I've collected to actually start building the things that I need. So this took a while, and I just sort of spend the next few days, hours even, just doing this. So enjoy the little snippets of it. I was finally starting to make some seeds, the resource seeds that I would use for the remainder of the run. I was running low on redstone mostly, so I started with that, and then realized I needed to make a nuclear reactor, so I made a Yellorium seed, which was basically just uranium, the plant. I decided that the house itself was not big enough, so I wanted to start work on the basement, though I did get sidetracked, and I stole another building. This took a long time. I had to go a long ways. I don't know why I took this building. Don't judge me. Back to work on the basement. This is where I would set up most of my power generation, my resource gathering, like quarries and stuff, and then most of my actual building and refining tools would be on the main floor upstairs. Here's the reactor. This used to be part of a mod called Big Reactors, which is now named Extreme Reactors. It's a pretty old mod and it works really well. It's just a reactor that honestly doesn't have any real explosion mechanics, so you're perfectly safe. I wanted to clear out the first floor from the vault. All of my stuff was in the vault, so I needed to move it down into a different vault down below, and then I could connect it up to the computer. I also made this quantum quarry. It's just sort of a block that if you give it power, it will generate ore that you can then use to do other things. Very rapid succession. I'm also doing my electrical work, setting up lights down here. For all of my create machines, I set up a small steam engine out here that would provide the rotational energy for all of my create stuff. And then for mechanism, I was able to provide power from the basement into the upper floor for these machines. Little did I know, but that explosion would not be the last. I had a lot of explosions in this house. This right here, I already replaced the quantum quarry with the digital miner because the quantum quarry was just way too slow. I also made this auto smelting setup to where any of the ore that the digital miner would get would be sent into the computer, and the computer would automatically send any raw material into these furnaces. Pretty interesting. And then obviously the next step was I needed more power, so I already have upgraded the big reactor. And speaking of already upgrading things, I was already looking at a new structure to call home. Yeah, the house that I stole is good for now, and it's gathering resources passively, but I need something bigger. I'm realizing that the project I'm working on is a lot bigger than just that small house. funny coming back to this because I remember distinctly this entire process of me fixing this old house. I was watching Vinland Saga the entire time, and I actually watched the first season a long time ago, but the second season I had never seen, so watching myself mine this out is reminding me about the show I was watching. I think I had truly overestimated how many balloons I had, and also underestimated how many balloons it would take to get this thing off the ground. I mean, obviously it's a ship now, so it moves, but it's not flying. No sense of the word is it flying. And eventually, I would learn that it was like stuck on some blocks. It was highly annoying to get this off the ground and away, but eventually it happened. This was by far my biggest acquisition yet, and I couldn't help but think with what these NPCs might think about a giant mansion flying above their head. Whatever, I'll just kill him. And there it sits. I had some plans for what I wanted to do with this mansion. I wanted to turn the top layer into a greenhouse. So first I had to clear out the balloons, and then I obviously put some foundation there just to make it look a little bit more natural. And then I started mining up these stairs and replacing them with glass. I was hoping that if I replaced enough of it with glass, I could go back in afterwards and just mine up all the wood, and I would have a pretty interesting and good looking greenhouse effect, and I think it turned out pretty good. I really wanted to use some more of that Mr. Crayfish's lighting, so I set up a bunch of generators out here, and I would be running a lot of electrical throughout the building. You know what I said about explosions in this house? Well, totally unprovoked, I get an explosion as I'm trying to transfer the loot from the mansion into my house. I repair it, and then immediately afterwards, another explosion! So, yeah, this place is probably a bad omen. I'm gonna be moving out pretty soon. I thought this open concept basement underneath the mansion would make for a good place for pretty much everything I own. So the first thing I did was I wanted to make a infinite lava source, and you can do that with the create mod. You know when they added copper in that one Minecraft update, they allowed the copper to oxidize over a long period of time? Well, I thought it'd be a cool idea since I know that the rest of this challenge is going to take a long time. I would make copper into my floor so that you can see just by the end of it how long this challenge actually ended up being after I set up a permanent base. In the corner here, I set up another create steam engine, just to create that rotational power for whatever machines I might want. Back at the house, and almost an hour and a half into this video, I finally make the very first crystal matrix ingot. This is the material that's going to be used for Avaricia, and I will have to make a lot of these. See, I wanted to show this because this is my first attempt at an EMC machine. Project E has machines that can create EMC based off of sunlight, but I'm not allowing myself to use those. So instead, I'm using the Create mod, Mystical Agriculture, and Big Reactors to make automatic Yellorium and feed it into a energy condenser to make nether stars. Hello everyone, our first and only extreme crafting table. Yeah, at this point, I could tell that this house was cursed. I logged on one day and my stone generator down there was causing a fire, so I had to get rid of that. Here's my second go at an EMC machine. I'm growing emerald seeds, having them be compacted into emeralds, and then turned into whatever I need them to be. This, friends, is a neutron collector. They ever so slowly collect neutrons. Who would have guessed? I was still collecting a lot of raw resources from my digital miner, and I thought of this cool contraption where I would have multiple different Tinker's Construct smelteries all going at the same time, each one preloaded to a different material. So it's like the redstone furnace setup I had before, but more individualized. Here I was kind of just for the very first time taking a look at exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew it was going to be difficult, but taking a look at it for the first time was definitely a shock. I'll go into it more here later, but this was my first attempt at creating one of the singularities. The easiest one, in my opinion, is the clay singularity. It doesn't require blocks of the resource, it just requires the clay balls. So I tried making this machine, and as you can see, it doesn't end up working. Since that machine didn't work, I started using the coveted sequential fabricators. Thermal Series is amazing for this. They made the best crafter. Here you can see the exact process I was going through. I was making a seed that would funnel into the sequential fabricator that would then craft its material into the resource and then feed that into a chest. This has nothing to do with anything, but I thought it was pretty funny. There's a thing in infectious called radiation, so you can get infected and radiated. But I figured out that the only way to cure it was with the blue rocks. Here's where you know the playthrough's getting serious. I couldn't even leave my base without the game crashing on me. So that happens a lot, and I had to find some backdoor bootleg ways to be able to leave my base while things were happening. Alright, in reference to one of my favorite shows, Mecha Coolio here, ready to explain how Avaricia works, mostly. What I have in front of me is a small demonstration as to the most important parts of Avaricia that you need to be aware of before going into this. In order to make what we want, the zombies still plague me. In order to make the Infinity Catalyst, we need all of this stuff. And most importantly, we need some of the Avaricia specific ingredients. The Ultimate Stew, Cosmic Meatballs, Endest Pearl, and the Singularities. First, I'm going to explain the Singularities. In order to get one, you have to create a neutron collector, and as you can see, it just sort of has a progress bar, and it slowly ticks upwards until finally you have neutron piles. After that, you have to make a neutronium compressor, and what this does is it creates a singularity out of the material that you put into it. So for demonstration, I have an energy condenser up here, loaded with clay balls. If I put this nether star in, you'll see it create a lot of clay balls. And what those are doing is they're being dropped into this hopper, which is then being fed into this neutronium compressor. Now, it is preloaded with clay singularity, and it will slowly tick upwards until it has made a singularity. You can already tell at this point you need 14,510 clay balls to make one singularity. After this steady stream of clay balls, we're only at 0.5%. So it is not a very fast process, and that is why it's going to take so long in order to get these resources. But the other cool ones that we can make along the journey are the Endest Pearl. I can't put the Endest Pearl in an item frame because danger will happen, as you'll see. But the Endest Pearl is made by putting Endstone, Ender Pearls, Neutronium Ingots, and a Nether Star together, and you get the Endest Pearl. Next, you have the Ultimate Stew. This is an item that is just as much of the food items that you can get in the game as possible. It is made with wheat, carrot, potato, beetroot, apples, melons, pumpkins, cactus, red mushrooms, brown mushrooms, maize wafers. I had some difficulty with these. And bars of chocolate, and then you add neutron piles. And then you get 4 ultimate stew from one craft. Next is the cosmic meatballs. In order to make these, you have to get fish, pork chops, rabbit, salmon, chicken, beef, mutton, raw venison, which comes from the Twilight Forest, raw meat, which comes from the Twilight Forest, and finally, Hydra Chops, which these are a boss drop. You'll see later that I had to fight a lot of Hydras in order to get the necessary Hydra Chops. But you get 2 per craft, so basically you put 2 in and you get 2 out. Yeah. And finally, as I showed, you have the Infinity Catalyst, which is crafted with this. I'll go over briefly what each necessary ingredient is. Diamond Lattice, you've seen me craft those before. Crystal Matrix Ingots, we just made those. Neutrons in each of their forms. All of these that I just explained. Any music disc, it doesn't have to be a specific one, just any music disc. Manilin from Tinker's Construct. Enderium from Thermal Series. Steel Block from Mechanism, Tinker's Construct, or Ad Astra. Awakened Draconium Blocks, Red Matter, Ironwood Ingots, Ludicrite, and all of the different singularities. Effectively, Avaricia is all about completing the game in the wholest way possible. It's really just a status of showing you have completed the game so thoroughly that you have so many resources to waste on singularities to then make into Infinity Catalysts and then into Infinity Ingots. It also is a way of marking that you have completed each aspect of the game. Not all mods are included, but as you saw, various different mods are included in the crafting recipe of the Infinity Catalyst. So, that being said, this being the ultimate crafting recipe and the ultimate tool, this is what I am considering to be completing the game. So now, here is us doing that. Completing the game and crafting the ultimate cool stuff. First up, here is how we craft Ludicrite. Next, these are the steps that I take to make Manyelin. Next, we have to go to a place called the Twilight Forest. Here we will get maze wafers, hydra chops, raw venison and raw meat, and we will also get ironwood, which is what we're going for right here. Next, we make steel. It's pretty easy to do in this mod pack. I just didn't make the most complicated setup, but it works. Here's an interesting process. We have to make Awakened Draconium from the Draconic Evolution mod. And while the Draconium is being made, we just go ahead and take care of Enderium. This is how we get those maze wafers I was talking about. You go into a labyrinth and you open a chest and take the maze wafers out. There's not a great way to make these renewable, so we kind of just have to do what we can. And this was a Minotaur spawner I got, which allows us to get automatic raw meat now. Finally, now that all of that is done, we can make the Awakened Draconium. It just takes a while, and then we make a seed for it. Taking a quick pit stop through the Twilight Forest to kill the Hydra and get some Hydra chops. I want you to pay very close attention to how close I came to dying in this fight. I've been playing for quite some time and was very confident. I did not think that that would happen, so yeah. Remember how one of the components for the ultimate stew is chocolate? Well, this poor cow is getting milked indefinitely so that we can make infinite chocolate. Millionth verse, same as the billionth. You've seen me use botany pots for all other kinds of plants. The rest of the ingredients for the ultimate stew are no different. To really help us keep track of what we have and have not made, I chose to make a roadmap of sorts. Alright, so you just saw that I was able to take care of most of the ingredients of the ultimate stew with plants. Well, this process that I'm doing is the exact same thing, but for the cosmic meatballs. I have to turn animals into plants so that I can farm them with the botany pots, and then have infinite amounts of each. Cool, so I have a method of turning any animal drop into a soul jar that I can then put into a plant. Well, I need different types of animals now, so I'm going to use a pretty interesting mechanic with the Philosopher's Stone to transmute a baby chicken into various different animals. Aha! Finally got what I needed. I needed rabbit. And so, without further ado, here's the crafting of each different animal seed. Oh, and secretly this whole time I've been also crafting the ingredients I would need for the Endest Pearl. Now that I've made the seeds, all that is required is that I feed the essences that they each make into a sequential fabricator, and then pump that off into the computer. Oh, and also secretly while I've been working on everything else, I also made this red matter farm. It's more of a coal farm than anything, but you need coal and diamonds to make red matter, so there it is. Next, I wanted to work on all of the singularities, so here's a bit more of an in-depth on how I'm turning the essences into blocks to then be made into singularities. And at long last, these neutron collectors finally gave us enough neutron piles to make neutronium ingots. I had just enough at this point to make 4 ingots. And you know what happens when we have 4 of something? We make a seed. And due to the sudden influx of neutronium ingots, we finally have the neutronium compressor. We can start work on the singularities actually. So the first one was going to the redstone, and I just sort of broke the chest, set up a hopper, and then started slow feeding all of the redstone back into the neutronium compressor. All of the meat was paying off. I got the meatballs. All of the plants were paying off. I got the stew. Though, do you remember when I said there was danger with the Endest Pearl? I was so close to getting the roadmap finished, and this happened. I thought for sure that pearl was about to consume the entire house and everything I had built. So, thank goodness it did not. As if the Endest Pearl wasn't enough, I'm getting regular explosions happening again. So, it's about time for a moat. Oh yeah, no regular moat, this one's got lava. And just to make double sure, putting interdiction torches, those things that ward off enemies and projectiles. I did a bit of touching up to the red matter machine. And I thought it was finally time for a update to my airship. Here you can see that I'm really starting to lose faith in the amount of botany pots that I have so far. I'm starting to set up way more than I had, and you'll see I soon will have way more than even this. I knew that sometime soon I was going to have to just leave my account on so that it could AFK some materials while I was away, so I started constructing this little safe room. This is something I've been looking forward to. You know how I was losing faith in the amount of botany pots I had? Well, I decided I needed a bigger space in order to keep them in, so here's one of my biggest acquisitions yet. An entire ocean monument. I took it back to my base and I started filling it up. Absolutely filling it up with botany pots. Here is an example of the first design that I have for the Mega Botany booster. It all feeds into an ender chest in the middle and gets sent back up to the greenhouse to be condensed into blocks. And I thought, you know what, while I'm here and I'm going to be building, I need some actual creative flight, so I went ahead and made some Insanium armor, because it gives you an augment where you can fly forever. I always find it so satisfying to set something up and then just click a button on these copy-paste gadgets. Oh man. I might as well show you the process that I have to get these maze wafers and the Hydra chops. The maze wafers, at least, I set up the digital miner on top of the labyrinth, and I just tell it to mine every single chest that it comes across, and it will just yoink the inventories from the labyrinth below. As for the Hydras, that's by hand. There's no way for me to simulate or reproduce their drops, so as you can hear, it's just loud, loud, loud all the time, and I have to kill a lot of these. Another tedious process is that I can only fit so many ender pearls in my inventory at one time, so I think one crafting yields like 10. Here's the updated AFK room, and I thought I'd show you a time lapse of multiple hours of just AFKing because that's what I have to do. I know it doesn't look like it, but at this point I have AFK'd for hours and days, and I have already had the ocean monument for a couple weeks at this point. I needed a new structure where I could absolutely mega boost my botany pots, so here is that mega structure. I was done building the structure of the mega structure, and I wanted to just add this little clock tree of time from the Twilight Forest. Well, folks, here we are. This is the crossroads, this is the ending, this is the whatever you want to call it. We've automated everything, we've AFK'd for hours, and as you will hear in one of the following clips, I'm kind of done waiting. In theory, all of this will happen at some point, but I'm not willing to wait until the end of the universe in order to get the cool item that I wanted. So, we do cut a corner or two here at the end. I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but this is what was most fun for me. So, I hope you still enjoy, and once the video's over, I'll be working on the next one. It has been quite some time. Forgive the pun. But I think it is about time that we end this. This is getting boring. For you, for me especially, because I have to live through it. I put my computer on, I leave it running for hours. I sit in that hole in the obsidian chamber that I made, and I've built all of this. All of this. You can see, I'll even pull it up. If I go into F3, you can see my FPS is at a staggering somewhere around 8 to 11 FPS. Somewhere around there. It is day number 834 as of right now. And this is getting old. This is getting so old. I have built this gigantic facility for botany pots, which is grinding my game down to a halt. I have definitely learned some things along the way of how I would like to do this differently. And I have this wonderful base, you know, of various different structures that I've stolen and brought here. This one original thing that I did build myself. Unfortunately, I get the feeling that if I do not finish this, it will not get finished. I'm at an impasse. The challenge that I have made for myself is that I must do this without creative mode, without commands, and heavily limiting the systems that I can use in order to cultivate these massively powerful items. However, now that I am getting bored, and I know that I am at a point where I will either do it or not. It will either happen or it will not. I get the feeling that it is time to put this little show to a close. So I have an infinity ingot and an infinity catalyst. Now you might be asking, how do you plan on making more of these if you know, only have one of each and you don't want to wait? I will show you. Create crate. This is like the easiest recipe ever. They should have made this way harder. However, I would not have used this if I did not reach the breaking point that I am at right now. So, there we go. Okay, let's do that one more time. Cool. Something like this. Maybe you click it. Aha! Aha! There we go. There we go. It's so lucky I can't even fly correctly on the first try. Oh! There we go. Infinity ingots and catalysts. And without creative mode, this is... it's a poor excuse, because everything is still very powerful, but you know what? It's whatever. We're gonna get crafted. I want to make the sword first. Sword of the Cosmos. Ain't that sweet. There we go. Infinity helmet. I can now replace this. I now have infinite night vision. You can see the stars in my eyes and my face. Get a full suit of infinity armor. It feels mostly deserved. Mostly. Okay, so for whatever reason, my FOV is super bad, and I'm very slow now. I don't exactly know why. Here are the wings that I've wanted for the longest time. Hello, Chaos Guardian. I'll punch it with my bare fists. Oh, he disabled my flight. Hit me. No, come on! How did I know? How did I know? And I'm not in the spot anymore. God dang it. I'm gonna have to hop down. Let's go! I'm not afraid of your laser. What? Is there another one somewhere? That should be it. Of some kind. But I thought you had to do that after you kill the Guardian. Didn't do a single point of damage. That's awesome. This fight sucks. I'm out. I am out of here. What the frick? I've been fighting this dragon for like an hour. Not taking a single point of damage either way. He can't take any damage. I can't take any damage because it doesn't register my weapon as an actual weapon. That is some bull. That is some bull. And I'm sure he's saying that to me too. I can't get damaged at all either. But at least I worked for mine. You're just built that way. What the frick? How about I just blow up my base? No, I'm not gonna do it. Well, that's about as exciting as I can get for you. The first one is kind of anticlimactic because simply I couldn't do damage to the boss I wanted to fight, and I need to finish this because my frame rate is terrible over here, so it's done. I'm gonna call this done. I'm gonna call this good. I expect that the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that will be way cooler. This, truly, this was just an introduction to a series that I'm going to perpetuate, where I start from nothing, make my way through the world, getting more powerful and gathering more supplies and more stuff until eventually I can make this armor again. So, and this sword. The sword that frickin' doesn't kill the boss that I want to kill. Anyways. I hope this has been mildly entertaining. I hope that I see you again in the next episode, however long away that is. Thanks for stopping by. Alright, and this is where I decide what item I want to bring into the next run. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I think it's only fitting that I bring something that reflects the troubles that I had in this run. And so I'm going to be bringing a Watch of Flowing Time. This is an item from Project E that is basically just a way for you to speed up time in a certain area. I will be using it for the early game to just speed up my furnaces and other things. And then in the late game, when I have botany pots and other things like that, it will make all of that way faster. So, that being said, I've already got a mod pack made. I'm planning on starting another playthrough as soon as I finish editing this video, which I am almost done. So, thanks for coming in.